This is the Best or Worst Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma.
All right. Welcome. This is the Best or Worst Podcast, episode number 88. I am Martin.
And I am Koji.
All right. Our society is so focused on celebrity, we sometimes forget that regular people lead interesting lives too. Best or worst moment of your life. Hosts Koji Stephen Sakai.
That's me.
And M. Martin Mapoma, who is obviously me, are here to let your story out. We put people on the spot. What are you going to hear? It could be funny, it could be poignant, it could be sad. You'll know when we know. All right. And today we have a very special guest, my own blood, my cousin, Soneka Kamuhuza.
How you doing? You tried with that last name, huh?
Am I saying it wrong again?
No, you're saying it right, but you have to enunciate right. It's Kamuhuza.
That's what I said, Kamuhuza.
Right. It's you have, like it's Japanese, so you have to be like, Kawasaki, Yamamoto.
Is that true, Koji? Is that true?
Kamuhuza.
Japanese is a phonetic, so yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, half the time, from my name, when I ever walked into an interview, I thought you'd be Japanese.
That's funny because I get the opposite. I get
really?
They think I'm Kenyan. One person thought I was Kenyan.
What?
Yeah, because you have they have Sakai, right? Masai, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. There are many Japanese names that sound phonetically like they would be African.
I just learned something new today. Koji, you get mistaken for Kenyan?
Well, a couple times I've been mistaken for Kenyan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
And by the way, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because that's all my life in America. That's been it. Like before I walk in the room, literally like, we thought you'd be Japanese. I'm like, yeah. Now, of course,
I had no idea, Soneka.
Yeah, with the advent of the internet, of course, everybody goes on to look for you, and they'll find you and they know what you are. But that was before we had all this LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Why don't you tell us, what do you do for a living?
So I am an educator, right? Actually, I have been an educator for over 20 years, but I think I have morphed from being an administrator, an education administrator. So I worked in the for-profit school business, technical schools, and so on for a long time. And then I used to be a technical teacher. I used to teach computers. And then I became an administrator, meaning I actually used to run a department, and then ended up running a school, academic dean, director of education. I've been a vice president of education for a for-profit group of schools. And then I've always run my own business. So I like to say educator, even though I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. So my current venture is developing a learning management system. Not developing, I shouldn't say that. That's actually a lie. I am working on creating a knowledge base. It's on a learning management platform. And I am curating learning courses and also pulling in other people that have interesting courses that they would like to teach and make money from, and seeing if they would like to be hosted. So if you've been into things like Udemy and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say Udemy.
Exactly, those big guys. Yeah, but I specifically I'm targeting the for-profit school business, non-profits, and trade unions, where a lot of this kind of technical vocational knowledge is not curated in a way that is going to meet this new learning environment that we're in, electronic, the fact that with COVID, people really don't have a choice but to start learning electronically. So that's kind of what I've been working on for since August, since I incorporated in August. I was working with a nonprofit, and I was doing kind of the same thing. We were running a computer, it's a computer site, part of a national company, right? The national nonprofit. I'm trying not to say names, names of people I've worked for, because I'm not plugging anybody for free.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The days
smart.
of plugging companies for free are like gone, so so I worked with them, and I started last year, and what we did was to teach technical things like Network Plus, A Plus for free.
Wow.
Yeah, to certification. Really good concept. These guys have a very good concept.
Yeah.
And loved it. Then COVID hit, and my school was the last school that was kind of brought on board, so to speak.
Yeah.
So as LIFO, FIFO, last in, first out. So
Yeah.
COVID thing kind of made that go crazy. That was March. And, as Martin knows, I'm not the kind of person to sit around, licking my wounds for too long.
Yeah.
So I licked my wounds a little bit and got up on my feet. And so I'm hands deep into that. So long way of saying that I'm a life educator, basically.
So what made you get into computers and teaching, and what made you get into all that stuff?
Weird. That's actually a great question. I've never thought about it in terms of what made me do it. I think it's always just been there. At my core, I've always I'm an artist, right? I'm an artist, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. I have always been into music, singing. I was in bands and all this kind of stuff, and soccer and all this. So what happened was,
you were a soccer coach, weren't you? Now?
Yeah, I was a soccer coach as well. I won a Southern New England Athletic Conference Championship in 1994 with Newbury College.
Wow.
I remember seeing that because
yes, that's
go ahead.
yes,
we'll talk about that in a second. But
we'll
go
talk
ahead
about
and finish
that in a second.
coach's question.
So coach. So when I was in college, I became like a TA, right? I became a TA, and then my Mr. Pelletier, who I can drop, I love him to bits. He was the chairman of my department. He asked me to teach when I graduated, and loved it. I did I helped teach summer school at Newbury College, and I realized that it's something that I just loved. He initially just brought me in check it out, see if you want to do it. And then I also started doing continuing ed classes in the evening. So I'd work all day, and then I'd teach, continuing ed people at the college who wanted to take evening. And this was in the hospitality department. And that really is what gave me the bug. I realized I liked coaching because I had been coaching soccer, and I liked teaching. And that's what set the bug for me, because I realized I had a knack for it. I loved the idea of just seeing people's eyes kind of brighten.
Yeah.
And people get it. That's always been the thing that drives me, and finding innovative ways and interesting ways to communicate information that would normally be difficult to grasp. And I wasn't a great student, not because I couldn't do the student part, but because I wasn't interested in that. I had so many other things going for me. So because I could pass a test without studying, I didn't study.
Words you'll never get come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I was like the B student who could always get a B without studying, who ticked the teachers off because they knew I could get an A, but I wasn't interested because, I had my long list: girls, partying, drinking, discoing, DJing. I had a long list about modeling, acting. I had this long list of stuff that I wanted to do. And
are you sure you're?
I was going to test to this stuff.
Yeah, it's like, wow, this is it's funny. You get to know someone even more when you talk to them in this format, as opposed to talking to Soneka on the phone, because that was me. But keep going. This is we'll circle back to this soon, because this is very interesting to me.
So so that's how I got into teaching. It was more so, I think, an accidental plug by somebody that had saw something in me, and then it's something that I fell in love with, and I've been in love with it ever since.
Yeah.
Just
I think there is a skill to, especially college students, teaching college students, and there is something different. It's not something that everyone can do, I think. So I'm very impressed. Well, you're also a artist. What kind of artist are you? You're a musician.
Well, I'm a writer.
Writer, okay.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm a writer. I am a musician. When I say musician, I used to tinker around on the piano, but I used to sing in bands. I've been in 3 bands. I was a lead singer in 3 bands. I have I'm surprised you don't have this information.
You know what? I'm immensely narcissistic. No, I know.
Well, you're telling me, Martin?
Yeah. No, because it's funny because, the way, Soneka growing up, man, Soneka was larger than life when I was a kid. And the thing is, I say kid because it's funny because I believe I'm maybe a year older than you.
Yep.
Or 2.
I think you're turning 55. If I'm not
mistaken. In August.
Yeah, and I'm turning 54 in August.
Yeah, but your brother was
my brother is
2 years older than me.
My brother is a year older than you. Yeah, 1 year older than you. So
I thought he was friends with Patu and Philip for some reason.
Well, he wasn't necessarily. I mean, those are not like guys that were in his oikos, No. But you know how it is. We lived in a small place. We all knew of or knew each other.
Yeah. So Soneka was like larger than life to me. It was he was always around, always doing these big things. And everyone knew. Soneka was like how do I put it? For me, he was like the bad boy that
for a lot of people
that the ladies loved. And I just remember when you and Fui got together.
I'm sure everybody in the family was like, get away from him.
It was just it was, you were just that guy, man. And I remember some things well, and then I forget, and then I remember certain things when they come back up. And you brought up the DJing, and I remember you DJing at Studio City, and
Studio 22.
Studio 22.
I used to DJ with PVC. Back in the days when we used to do the showgrounds, remember when we started doing the showgrounds? That's when I started, and I think I was literally like at some point in high school.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then I used to model with like any place that would take. I used to model. I used to dance. I used to. Yeah. So in our small place at a young age, because I started singing in the Minch coming out of 7th grade. Literally, like in 7th grade, I was in the band because my older brother was part of this group and they needed a lead singer, and I became the main singer. And I think that's kind of what started the thing, the Soneka thing. That I was just a kid. And I could sing. And to me, it's how you relate to yourself versus how people relate to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is how people related to me. But I never necessarily saw myself like that until I could get girls. That's when I kind of was like, there's something to this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing. So I don't know. You had a question. I answered Koji's question. I don't know if I answered yours because I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, no, we're gonna. No, my question real quickly because we're gonna wrap it up and move on to our next segment where we get to know your best or worst, but which will be Thursday. But it's because when I finished architecture school here is when I got into acting through modeling when I was here. I sort of fell into it and then became an actor. And when I moved out to Chicago, first of all, the parents were upset when I didn't, become an architect. They were just like, what? You want to do what? But I remember, you talk about your calling. I remember all that during that time in school and even as a model, I always exercised. I exercised because I was small and I wanted to get, I was fascinated with getting big and getting the muscles. And through my career and, helping my friends work out, my turning point came when I trained someone that I worked with for her wedding and got her into great shape. And then people were like, all these other, these girls were like, hey, you helped her, can you help me? And it's sort of progression. And then in 2008, when the recession hit, And I went. Koji, you would understand this. I went from being, getting auditions for like guest starring in movies. Nice. I got bumped down to day players, because all the movie guys and the TV guys that were getting the series regular stuff were getting bumped down to guest stars because they didn't know where the industry was going. And so I was on that tier for a long time, for a little bit. And then my training career just sort of picked up.
Right.
And the first time I had a client tell me, you saved my life. And I was like, oh, come on. And she's like, no, you saved my life. It really hit for me. I was like, wow, this can be a really powerful, medium to work in, as far as being a trainer went, and, you hear about all the trainers, you hear about the big gyms and, their machine with trainers coming in and out. And the only thing they care about is getting the numbers in, not, they're really helping their clients. And then you have then you hear about the trainers who, I didn't want to be that trainer. I want to be the trainer that I am. Anyway, that being said, that's a great story, Soneka. We're gonna wrap it up. And this is part one of our talk with Mr. Kamuhuza.
There you go.
Kamuhuza.
He's crazy. He's struggling when it's his cousin's husband. You know what I mean? That's terrible. He's gonna have a hard time with you, brother.
No. Kamuhuza. You know what it is? It's there's no excuse. Yeah, you're right.
You need to you've been practicing this before you even got here. We'll see how that goes for you.
We'll see how the next episode goes. Now you can see it.
Yes.
The next one.
Yes.
Why can't it be like just in awe? Huh? Can it just be that?
Yeah.
Can it be that? Come on.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And we'll see you in 2 days when we ask about the best or worst moment.
From Soneka Kamuhuza.
Peace out.
Deuces.
All right, guys.